Chapter 2756, Rong Pavillion. If it was made known that Huana was an overarching heavenly supreme celestial who was younger than 100 years old, it would definitely attract many troubles with not a single benefit. For this reason, Duan Ling Tan decided it was best to hide Huana's age. There was nothing to be done since her strength had already been exposed, but as long as her age remained hidden, no one would pay too much attention to Huana and her celestial methods and divine abilities. It's likely that the celestial methods and divine abilities that Huana mastered are much higher than the heaven grade. Previously, Duan Ling Tan had tried to teach Huana the heaven grade divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic. However, he had dismissed that idea when he discovered that Huana's assist-type divine ability was far stronger than his assist-type divine ability. It only seemed weaker than the elementary devouring tactic because Huana had not completely mastered it. During that time, he also discovered that all of her celestial methods and divine abilities were extraordinary and came from her inherited memories. Huana also tried to teach her cultivation method to Duan Ling Tan, but Duan Ling Tan discovered he could not use it. Apart from that, she could not teach Duan Ling Tan her celestial methods and divine abilities since she had not completely mastered them. Moreover, nobody knew for certain if she was capable of teaching him her celestial methods and divine abilities even after she completely mastered them. For this reason, he had never shown much interest in her celestial methods and divine abilities. He would just let nature take its course. Duan Ling Tan said, "Huana, even if you don't participate, you can still follow me to the martial dragon celestial sect. Moreover, this selection has no meaning. Even I will have a hard time finding someone who's a match for me, let alone someone with your strength." He knew Huana only wanted to participate out of curiosity and to amuse herself. Upon listening to Duan Ling Tan's words, Huana nodded with a cute expression on her face. "Okay, I'll listen to you, Brother Ling Tan." After a while, Long Fian's voice rang from outside. "Brother Duan." "Huana, let's go." Duan Ling Tan, who had been waiting for Long Fian, left the guest courtyard and joined Long Fian. As usual, Ling stood behind Long Fian. "Brother Duan, Lady Huana." Long Fian greeted the duo enthusiastically with a brilliant smile when he saw them. During the past 10 days, he was so happy that he found it difficult to fall asleep. How could he not be happy when he discovered that Duan Ling Tan was not only a great overarching golden celestial who was less than 100 years old, but Duan Ling Tan was also a prominent celestial alchemist. With someone like that supporting his bid for the throne of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, success seemed imminent. Duan Ling Tan, Long Fian, and Huana, escorted by Ling, made their way to the selections venue. During the journey through the Imperial Palace, Long Fian took the initiative to explain. "Brother Duan, the selection is held in Rong Pavillion in the Imperial Palace of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Rong Pavillion is the first residence established after the founding of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Rong Pavillion is named after the person who contributed greatly to the founding of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom." Long Fian continued to say, "For the sake of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, Rong never married nor adopted a son or daughter. When he saved the life of my ancestor decided to name the first pavilion in Rong's memory. Rong Pavilion is usually a place for members of the imperial family to spar and learn from each other." Duan Ling Tan faintly nodded while Huana listened on with great interest. Long Fian finally came to a halt and pointed at a huge and magnificent pavilion. "That's Rong Pavilion. The statue there is of Rong." Duan Ling Tan turned to look at the pavilion and the statue at the center of the pavilion. The statue was that of a middle-aged man. The statue depicted the middle-aged man holding a hammer as he gazed into the horizon, and it was more than 30 meters in height. The statue was so lifelike that one could see the look of dignity in his eyes that were devoid of anger. When Duan Ling Tan looked away, he saw groups of people arriving from several different directions. Long Fian took the initiative to explain again. "Those people are the princes and their entourage." At this moment, a voice that contained a trace of mocking rang in the air. "13th brother, where are the young powerhouses who will represent you? Why aren't they with you?" A familiar figure appeared. It was none other than Long King Yun, The seventh prince, whom Duan Ling Tan had met in the Nian clan's auction house. A familiar black-clad old man stood behind Long King Yun. A hint of wariness could be seen in the black-clad old man's eyes when he looked at Ling. It was clear that his battle with Ling in the Nian clan's auction house made him realize he was weaker than Ling. Long King Yun laughed as he said in a ridiculing tone, "You're not planning to give up, are you?" If it was in the past, Long Yun would have been angered by Long King Yun's words. However, he remained calm this time. He only smiled faintly as he looked at the person standing next to Long King Yun. "Seventh brother, you seem very confident. I assume your confidence comes from this person, right?" The person standing next to Long King Yun was a young man with a blank expression on his face. Long Yun continued to look at the young man with a faint smile on his face. It seemed as though he would remain calm even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. He asked, "If I'm not mistaken, you're Feng Wu Jigweng from Grand Prestige Mansion, right?" "Your Highness," Feng Jigweng responded apathetically. He nodded before he replied, "Today I'll battle representing the seventh prince, not Grand Prestige Mansion. I only hope the young powerhouses representing you won't be too much of a disappointment for me." Long Yun's eyes briefly flashed in anger when he saw the disrespect of the young man from one of the mansions under the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's rule. In the end, he replied tonelessly, "You seem very confident. In any case, I'm certain you won't be disappointed. I'll be waiting then." After he finished speaking, Feng Wu Jigweng closed his eyes. It was clear he had no intention of continuing the conversation. Upon seeing the anger on Long Yun's face, Long King Yun said with a laugh, "13th brother, I'm also eager to see the strength of the young powerhouses who will be representing you. However, you better make sure they arrive on time. If they're late, it doesn't matter how strong they are, they still wouldn't be able to win." After taunting Long Yun, Long King Yun did not wait for Long Yun to reply. He continued to make his way toward Xerong Pavilion with Feng Wu Jigweng, the black-clad old man, and the rest of his entourage. The people from the mansions in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom parted and made way for Long King Yun and his people. Based on this, one could see the seventh prince's influence was not small. From the beginning until the end, Long King Yun had deliberately ignored Duan Ling Tan and Huana. Since he was not certain of their identities, he would not recklessly provoke them. Huana said irritably, "Brother Ling Tan, that seventh prince or whatever is really annoying." After the expression on Long Yun's face eased up, he said to Huana, "Lady Huana, rest assured, he won't be happy for long." Although Feng Wu Jigweng is rather strong, he's nothing compared to Brother Duan. He's so sure that Feng Wu Jigweng will win first place. It's nothing but similar to counting his chickens before the eggs have hatched. Huana scoffed and said irritably, "It's only natural that person can't compare to my brother Ling Tan." Long Yun smiled and agreed. Yes, you're right, Lady Huana. Feng Wu Jigweng is nothing. He's not even worthy to carry Brother Duan's shoes. This girl. Duan Ling Tan only smiled dryly and shook his head before entering Xerong Pavilion. When they entered the Xerong Pavilion, it was clear that Long Yun's influence was not big. No one from the mansions in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom made way for him at all. In the end, Ling had to reveal the aura of a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial to forcibly clear the way. Soon after, Long Xiang Yun, the fourth prince, arrived as well. At this time, the people from the mansions entered Xerong Pavilion as well. His Majesty has arrived. The Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom also appeared in a timely manner after everyone had settled down. Chapter 2757, Duan Ling Tan's turn. The Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was a tall and well-built middle-aged man with a square face. He was dressed in a golden dragon robe, and his long jet black hair draped on his back. Although his face was expressionless, he emitted a dignified air. A middle-aged man followed closely behind him when he entered. Apart from that, another 6 old men stood at his sides, protecting him in all directions. "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Greetings, Your Majesty." The crowd in Xerong Pavilion immediately bowed and paid their respect in unison when the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom arrived. The only people who did not react were Duan, Ling, Tian, Huana, and a young woman who stood with Long Xiangyun. The young woman was none other than Zhu Xiuku, the fourth miss of the Zhu clan. Since everyone was bowing, the three people who did not bow, naturally, stood out. However, when Long Dongping, the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, saw Zhu Xiuku, he greeted her kindly with a smile on his face. "Xiuku is here as well, Your Majesty." Faced with the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, Zhu Xiuku merely nodded faintly in response. However, not only was Long Dongping not angered, but he even walked up to Zhu Xiuku and said with a smile, "Xiuku, how many times must I say it? I'm your uncle. No matter where we are, you can just address me as your uncle. There's no need to be so courteous." "Your Majesty, we're in public after all. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to address you as such," Zhu Xiuku said with a shake of her head. "You're too stubborn. No one can change your mind once you have set your mind to it. You have been like this since young." Long Dongping shook his head. As soon as he finished his sentence, he turned to Long Xiangyun, who was standing beside Zhu Xiuku, and solemnly said, "You better bring Xiuku around and treat her well. Don't blame me for punishing you if Xiuku is unhappy." "Don't worry, father, Xiuku is my cousin. I'll take care of her and treat her well," Long Xiangyun hurriedly answered. In the meantime, he was wondering to himself why his cousin was interested in today's selection. She even brought his younger cousin, Zhu Xiudong, as well. "Xiuku, I still have to preside over the selection. If there's anything you need, just speak to Xiangyun. If he makes you unhappy, tell me, and I'll punish him," Long Dongping said affectionately. His words made it seem like Zhu Xiuku was his child rather than Long Xiangyun. Zhu Xiuku nodded and remained silent. As Long Dongping was leaving, the middle-aged man behind him and the 6 old men surrounding him also greeted Zhu Xiuku in unison. "Miss Xiuku." Their voices were filled with admiration when they greeted her. They did not dare to show her any disrespect. If another woman were to receive such treatment, everyone would have been shocked. Long Dongping aside, the 7 men around him were all the pillars of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Most of them were heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials. Only 2 of them were Earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials. However, Earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials who were tasked to protect the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom were, naturally, extraordinary Earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials. They were stronger than most of the Earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and almost as strong as heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestials. Although Long Dongping was the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom and the men around him were all high-ranking officials, Zhu Xiuku's identity was rather special. She was the direct disciple of the former sect leader of the Thousand Spiders sect, one of the 3 major celestial sects of the wasteland. She was also the junior sister of the current sect leader of the Thousand Spiders celestial sect. How could Long Dongping or his men compare to someone like her? Long Dongping made his way to the stone platform in the middle of this majestic hall when he saw Duan, Ling, Tian and Huana from the corners of his eyes. Who are these 2 people? Even Xiuku didn't do anything against them. This might be Long Dongping's first time meeting Duan, Ling, Tian and Huana, but as the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, he had long heard about the duo. He had even tried to investigate the duo's background. However, he had yet to discover anything useful in this short span of time. The Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's intelligence network is not comparable to the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect's intelligence network. Since Xiuku did not act even after learning her sister has suffered at their hands, they must have an extraordinary background. Therefore, he did not make a fuss even when he saw Duan, Ling, Tian and Huana did not bow when he arrived. If it was anyone else, he would have been furious by this show of disrespect and would have ordered for them to be punished. Didn't they say the white-clad woman is younger than 100 years old? It seems to be just a rumor. After extending his divine consciousness, Long Dongping discovered that Huana was not younger than 100 years old. He had thought rumors could not be trusted at all. Upon discovering this, however, he did not plan to do anything. After all, Even Zuxiuku avoided offending them. Brother Ling Tan, the Emperor just probed me with his divine consciousness. Huana was an Earth-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial. Therefore, she had easily detected the Long Dongping's divine consciousness. His cultivation base was just a stage higher than hers. I think he's trying to detect your age. He's still not strong enough to detect your cultivation base though, Duan Ling Tan said. Although Huana did not have the defective metal piece to protect her soul and conceal her cultivation base, as a thousand phantom ice fox, her soul was protected by a special force exclusive to her kind. Many would find it difficult to sense her cultivation base and aura. Welcome, everyone. Shortly after, Long Dongping stepped up on the stone platform in the center of Xerong Pavilion's main hall. Then, he looked around and said, I believe everyone is aware of the rules today, so I'll go straight to the point. He did not waste any time and declared the start of the selection. Just as Long Dongping had assumed, everyone was aware of the rules of the selection. The powerhouses younger than 100 years old recruited by the mansions and the princes would fight. The top 50 participants would represent the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom to compete in the Wasteland Grand Contest. The 50 participants who were selected were not allowed to switch who they represented and were not allowed to represent more than one person or mansion. For instance, the Violet Sun Golden Celestial, Feng Wu Jiguang, from Grand Prestige Palace had chosen to represent the 7th Prince. If he was selected, he would not be allowed to switch to represent Grand Prestige Mansion or represent both the 7th Prince and the Mansion. He would have to continue representing the 7th Prince in the Wasteland Grand Contest. This was to avoid the same person helping a prince and a mansion to win. After a short moment, the selection finally began. Due to Feng Wu Jiguang's presence, the Indigo Sun Golden Celestials younger than 100 years old who were recruited by the mansions no longer seemed extraordinary. Feng Wu Jiguang has yet to fight. However, there's no doubt he'll win a place among the 50 spots. In fact, it's not surprising if he places first in the selection. Due to his help, there's a good chance the 7th Prince would be rewarded. Many people in Xerong Pavillion shared the opinion that Feng Wu Jiguang had a high chance of ranking first in the selection. As time passed, Feng Wu Jiguang remained undefeated. The top 50 participants were slowly made clear. At this moment, the 7th Prince, Long Qingyun, who was standing in the distance, began to mock Long Fian. The 13th Prince, again. He sent a voice transmission to Long Fian. 13th brother, are you men still not here? It seems like you know your chance of winning the reward is 0, so you've given up. I have to say, you really shouldn't give up even if you don't stand a chance to win. Father might still praise you if your men manage to place in the top 50 places. By failing to recruit even one powerhouse will only show Father how useless you are. Father will only despise you even more. He laughed inwardly the more he thought about it. Upon hearing Long Qingyun's words, Long Fian sneered. The powerhouse I recruited is already here. I am afraid you need to go for an eye examination. Long Qingyun was about to retort to Long Fian for implying that he was blind when whoosh, Duan Ling Tan moved toward Feng Wu Jiguang like a missile honed in on its target. Wu Jiguang like a Chapter 2758, a great overarching golden celestial who is younger than 100 years old. How did he get up there? Upon seeing Duan Ling Tan, Long Qingyun, the 7th Prince, who had a furious expression on his face due to Long Fian, the 13th Prince, had a drastic change in his expression. He did not expect Duan Ling Tan to step forward. Was Duan Ling Tan not from a powerful sect outside of the wasteland? If Duan Ling Tan belonged to a sect, generally speaking, he would not be interested in the Wasteland Grand Contest. This was because the winners of the Wasteland Grand Contest would be accepted in one of the 3 major celestial sects of the Wasteland. It's him? At the same time, Long Xiangyun, the 4th Prince, was also stunned by Duan Ling Tan's action. On the contrary, there was a glint in the eyes of Zuxiuku, the 3rd Miss of the Zhe clan, who was standing next to Long Xiangyun. She thought to herself, who knew he'd really join the tournament? So, He's truly interested in the Wasteland Grand Contest. Zusuku did not tell anyone that the reason she came to watch the selection by the imperial family of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom was due to her hunch that Duan Lingtan would participate in the selection. She had speculated that Duan Lingtan did not have an extraordinary background. Therefore, he probably wanted to participate in the Wasteland Grand Contest to join one of the three major celestial sects of the Wasteland. This was the best path for someone who did not have an extraordinary background. Moreover, Duan Lingtan seemed to have a good relationship with Long Fian, the 13th prince. It was not impossible for Duan Lingtan to want to represent Long Fian. Nevertheless, this was all just her speculations. Only when she saw Duan Lingtan making a move was she able to confirm her suspicions. Zusuku continued thinking to herself, it seems like he doesn't belong to any sect. Otherwise, he wouldn't participate in the Wasteland Grand Contest. Those who already belonged to a sect would not join the Wasteland Grand Contest because the top participants of the Wasteland Grand Contest would be accepted into the three major celestial sects of the Wasteland. Naturally, the participants were allowed to refuse, but it meant they would not receive the prize from the contest. Those who already belonged to a sect would have joined the contest for naught. There's another possibility as well. He might have participated in the selection today to win a spot to compete in the Wasteland Grand Contest, but he doesn't plan to win the Wasteland Grand Contest. When this thought appeared in Zusuku's mind, her heart sank. It's possible that he only decided to participate in the selection to help Long Fian win the selection. He'd probably admit defeat during the Wasteland Grand Contest so he doesn't have to join any of the three major celestial sects. Thinking up to here, she began to wonder again if Duan Lingtan might have an extraordinary background. She stared at Duan Lingtan and muttered under her breath, one day, I'll learn of your background. Sister, what's he doing up there? Zusudong, the fourth miss of the Z clan, who was standing next to Zusuku, was stunned as well when she saw Duan Lingtan up on the stone platform. Based on what she knew, Duan Lingtan was from a powerful sect outside of the Wasteland. Why was he participating in the selection? Could someone who had already joined a sect participate in the Wasteland Grand Contest? In response to Zusudong's question, Zusuku said, perhaps. He has no plan of winning the Wasteland Grand Contest and joining the three major celestial sects. It's possible that he only participated in today's selection to help the 13th prince win the reward. Zusudong nodded when she heard Zusuku's words. Then, she repeated Zusuku's words to Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince. Seventh brother desperately wants to win the reward for this selection. He even went as far as to pull the Grand Prestige Mansion and Feng Wu Jigwen to his side. He'd never imagine that the wolf is winning while the shepherds quarrel. Long Xiangyun looked at Long Qingyun with a mocking smile on his face. To be honest, he would rather his 13th brother win the reward than his 7th brother if he had to choose. After all, even if his 13th brother won the reward, it still did not change the fact that his 13th brother had no chance of ascending the throne even if he was outstanding. His 13th brother was not favored by their father. However, his 7th brother was different. In terms of capabilities, they were both equal. Moreover, they were both favored by their father. If his 7th brother's representative won the selection, their father would certainly be impressed. This was not something he wished to see. After all, this would tip the scale in his 7th brother's favor. He's participating in the selection? Not only were the 4th and 7th prince stunned by this turn of events, but even Long Dongping, the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, was stunned. He did not expect Duan Lingtan, whom he assumed had an extraordinary background, would participate in the selection. From what he knew, Duan Lingtan was a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old and came from a powerful sect outside of the Wasteland. Could someone like that participate in the Wasteland Grand Contest? If he won, would he join one of the three major celestial sects of the Wasteland? It's likely that he's only participating to help Fian win. He probably won't represent the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom or join the three major celestial sects. With this thought in mind, Long Dongping turned to look at Long Fian, the 13th prince, before he sent Long Fian a voice transmission. Fian, did you ask him to stir up a commotion here? A hint of anger could be heard in his tone. Upon hearing this, colors drained from Long Fian's face. All of a sudden, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Duan Ling Tan, who was on the stone platform, lifted his hand. A giant sword formed from his vast celestial origin energy appeared in his hand before he slashed it down at Feng Jiguang. Feng Jiguang scoffed. He had been keeping an eye on Duan Ling Tan ever since Duan Ling Tan stepped onto the stone platform. Therefore, he was not caught off guard when he saw Duan Ling Tan making a move. At the same time, his celestial origin energy that had been mobilized rushed to his hand. A 7-foot-long spear appeared. Swoosh! The 7-foot-long spear shook and the celestial origin energy surrounding it surged. It looked like a huge python, ready to devour Duan Ling Tan's giant sword that was also formed by celestial origin energy. Boom, 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 boom. The collision caused energies to ripple into the surroundings. It looked as though someone had thrown a stone in a pool of calm lake. The crowd in Xerong Palace was in an uproar. All of them were curious about Duan Ling Tan's identity. He seems to serve the 13th prince. I think so. He seems to be as strong as Feng Jiguang. At the very least, he's a violet sun golden celestial. Between him and Feng Jiguang, I wonder who's stronger. Who's he? I haven't heard of him before. That's right. Where did he come from? Most of them had heard about Feng Jiguang being a violet sun golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old. However, they were not aware that there was another violet sun golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old. For this reason, their curiosity was piqued. Boom! A deafening sound reverberated in the air as though there had been an earthquake. The sound came from Duan Ling Tan's giant sword that was formed by his celestial origin energy. His energy surged in just a blink of an eye. At this moment, everyone in Xerong Palace could sense the difference in Duan Ling Tan's attack. How's this possible? Feng Jiguang was shocked. He had already unleashed all his strength. He did not expect his opponent's strength would rise even more since he thought they would come to a draw at most. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind. Great overarching golden celestial. He could not get rid of the thought no matter how hard he tried. The crowd broke into an uproar again. Great overarching golden celestial. Heavens! He's a great overarching golden celestial. The aura from his physical body indicates he's, indeed, younger than 100 years old. He's a great overarching golden celestial even though he's not even 100 years old. There's a great overarching golden celestial younger than 100 years old in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. He hit himself well. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions rang in the air as Duan Ling Tan's giant sword that was formed from his celestial origin energy easily destroyed Feng Jiguang's attack. Even the spear in Feng Jiguang's hand flew out of his grasp, piercing one of the pillars in the hall. Bang! A loud crash sounded as Feng Jiguang was sent flying by the giant sword. Jiguang. Chapter 2759, The Winning Prince. Due to the rules of the selection that prohibited killing and also because there was no enmity between Duan Ling Tan and Feng Jiguang, Duan Ling Tan had held back on his strength. For this reason, Feng Jiguang was only severely injured when he slammed into one of the pillars in the hall. Feng Jiguang could no longer fight. He could barely stand and had to lean against the pillar for support. When he turned to look at Duan Ling Tan, there was no resentment in his eyes. He was grateful that Duan Ling Tan had spared his life. Thank you for showing mercy. When Duan Ling Tan's sword had slashed down at Feng Jiguang earlier, Feng Jiguang had felt the immense and suffocation force from the attack. At that time, a wave of despair rose in his heart. He had thought he was going to die. He did not expect his opponent to hold back and spare his life. Duan Ling Tan nodded indifferently. Then, he glanced at the remaining young powerhouses. The young powerhouses regained their senses when they saw Duan Ling Tan looking at them. Their expression changed drastically since they could feel Duan Ling Tan's fighting spirit. All of them jumped down from the stone platform in unison. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The sound of wind whistling in the air reverberated in the hall. In just a blink of an eye, all the remaining participants had left the stone platform at top speed as though there was some terrifying monster Duan Lingtan was a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old after all. Someone like that was not someone they could afford to offend. Moreover, they were not blind. Even Feng Wu Jigwang, a violet sun golden celestial, was sent flying with just one move. Duan Lingtan did not even use his celestial weapon. The strongest among them was merely an indigo sun golden celestial. Even if all of them attacked at once, they still would not be able to defeat a great overarching golden celestial. It was better to admit defeat than humiliate themselves by doing something futile. For a time, Duan Lingtan was left alone on the stone platform in the middle of the Rong Palace's main hall. He stood there, dressed in purple robes with his extraordinarily handsome face and astounding aura. All the young women present kept looking at him furtively. A hint of admiration could be seen in their eyes as they snuck a look at him. Not only was he a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old, but he was also incredibly handsome. It was only natural that the young women present were attracted to him. Who's he? When did the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom gain someone like this, a great overarching golden celestial who's younger than 100 years old? How well did he hide himself? After a momentary silence, an uproar broke out in the main hall of Rong Palace. Everyone, from the mansions to the princes, was fervently discussing this turn of events. Everyone was curious about Duan Lingtan, who had seemed to appear out of the blue in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Moreover, he was a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old. It would be difficult for someone like that to hide themselves in the wasteland, let alone the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, unless they did not show their strength at all. It seems like the 13th prince will be the winning prince for this selection. Who knew the 13th prince would end up being the winning prince? I truly didn't expect this. The one who's feeling the most regretful now should be the Grand Prestige Mansion. They must have thought Feng Wu Jigwang would win without fail and sent him to the 7th prince. Who knew there would be a great overarching golden celestial who's younger than 100 years old? I think the 7th prince must be so angry now that he wants to vomit blood. As the crowd discussed among themselves, their eyes were, naturally, trained on Long King Yun. Just as the crowd had speculated, Long King Yun was so furious that he felt as though he was going to vomit blood. He had thought he was definitely going to be the winning prince. Who knew his 13th brother was able to recruit a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old? He already belongs to a powerful sect, but he still participated in the selection. It's likely that he's only doing it to help 13th brother. He probably won't join the Wasteland Grand Contest. Even if he joins the contest, he'll probably admit defeat. Long King Yun was certain Duan Lingtan had only participated in the selection to help Long Fian become the winning prince and had no intention of joining the Wasteland Grand Contest. Father. Long King Yun was afraid of Duan Lingtan, so he did not dare to outright offend him. Therefore, he sent a voice transmission to Long Dongping. He probably has no intention of joining the Wasteland Grand Contest. If so, it wouldn't benefit us at all even if he's the strongest among all the participants today. Are you still going to give 13th brother the Duke Grade Celestial Weapon? Long King Yun's words rang true to Long Dongping since he had the same thought as well. His expression darkened as he looked at Duan Lingtan. Young man. Everyone turned to look at Long Dongping immediately. Duan Lingtan also turned to look at Long Dongping. The objective of the selection is to find young powerhouses to represent the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom in the Wasteland Grand Contest. During the contest, those who are selected have to go all out and not hold back to obtain a higher rank in the contest, Long Dongping said as he looked at Duan Lingtan. His gaze was pointed as he asked, "Can you do that?" "Yes." Duan Lingtan nodded indifferently. Long Dongping did not expect Duan Lingtan to agree to it so easily. He was stunned. When he regained his senses, he quickly said, "If you do well in the Wasteland Grand Contest, you have to join one of the 3 major celestial sects. Will you be able to do that?" "Why, Your Majesty? Are you suggesting that I only participated in the selection to help the 13th prince become the winning prince? Are you suggesting that I have no intention of participating in the Wasteland Grand Contest or joining the 3 major celestial sects of the Wasteland?" Duan Ling Tan asked as he met Long Dongping's eyes. That's right. Long Dongping did not expect Duan Ling Tan to be so blunt and voiced out the thoughts in his head. However, he was not afraid to admit it. He nodded. After all, I heard that you have a remarkable background. It's likely that you already belong to a sect. Upon hearing the conversation between Duan Ling Tan and Long Dongping, the crowd was taken aback. Judging from His Majesty's words, it seems like he's familiar with this young man. His Majesty knows him. What is happening? Why does His Majesty know him but we've never heard of him? Those from the mansions under Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom learned about how Duan Ling Tan injured the fourth Miss of the Zhu clan and killed an elder of the Zhu clan who was an Earth-rank overarching Heavenly Supreme Celestial. Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince, even visited him but did not dare to offend him. Later on, in a shocking twist, even the third Miss of the Zhu clan did not act against him when she found out about what had happened. She even asked her sister to apologize. Zhu Xiuku, the third Miss of the Zhu clan, was someone even the emperor was respectful to. Although she was his niece, he treated her with the utmost respect. For these reasons, the people from the mansion looked at Duan Ling Tan warily. Even the third Miss of the Zhu clan didn't dare to offend him. With the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect's intelligence network, she must be privy to his background. This just means he has an extraordinary background. It's likely that he's from a powerful sect or clan. I agree. If that's the case, why would he participate in the Wasteland Grand Contest? After all, the biggest draw is the chance to join the three major celestial sects. That's not necessarily true. If he belongs to a powerful sect, then, he, naturally, wouldn't join one of the three major celestial sects. However, if he's from a strong clan, he can still join a sect. Yes, there is a difference between a clan and a sect. The crowd in Xerong Palace began to fervently discuss Duan Ling Tan's affairs. Most of them concluded that Duan Ling Tan must be from a powerful clan that even the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect could not simply offend. Otherwise, Zhu Xiuku, the third Miss of the Zhu clan, would not have stayed passive. Upon hearing the discussion in the surroundings, Zhu Xiudong could not hold back and ask, Sister, is he truly from some powerful clan? In a way. Zhu Xiuku nodded indifferently. At this point, what could she say? Could she say that she did not know as well? She only let Duan Ling Tan go because of the special relationship he had with her best friend, Rong Bing, who was from the Compassionate Celestial Traveler sect. Chapter 2760, A Losing Proposition. After listening to Zhu Xiuku's words, Zhu Xiudong repeated the words to Long Xiangyun, the fourth prince. In turn, Long Xiangyun informed his father, the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom, about what he had learned through voice transmission. He was eager to prove himself useful. After all, his presence during the selection was too weak. After receiving the information from Long Xiangyun, Long Dongping confirmed the veracity of the words again through voice transmission. After that, the way he looked at Duan Ling Tan changed as well. I plan to join the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect, Duan Ling Tan replied bluntly as he stared at Long Dongping. Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. As soon as Duan Ling Tan finished speaking, the fourth and seventh prince, Long Xiangyun and Long Qingyun, had a drastic change in their expressions. This was not good news for them. The Martial Dragon Celestial Sect was the sect that governed 13 high-rank celestial kingdoms, including the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Just a word from the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect was sufficient to determine the Emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. With Duan Ling Tan's good relationship with Long Fian, how could they not be worried about Duan Ling Tan joining the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect? On the other hand, Long Dongping did not think that far ahead. He felt at ease as soon as he heard Duan Ling Tan planned to join the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. He no longer felt worried about Duan Ling Tan only joining the selection to help Long Fian become the winning prince or forfeit the Wasteland Grand Contest and refused to join any of the three major celestial sects of the Wasteland. In fact, he would be able to benefit greatly if Duan Ling Tan won the contest and joined the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. The three major celestial sects would handsomely reward the celestial kingdoms of the top-rank participants. Finally, Long Dongping looked at Long Fian and announced, "In this case, the winning prince for today's selection is the 13th prince." Naturally, there were people who were happy about this and there were people who were displeased by it. Long Fian was elated, and the 4th and 7th prince, Long Xiangyan and Long Qingyan, were clearly displeased. Both of them were worried Duan Lingtan would support Long Fian to ascend the throne once he joined the martial dragon celestial sect. Long Qingyan was particularly vexed since he had assumed he would win with Feng Wu Jigwei on his side. Who knew Duan Lingtan would show up and take away the glory that was supposed to belong to him? Martial dragon celestial sect? He wants to join the martial dragon celestial sect? Zhu Xiuku frowned slightly when she heard Duan Lingtan's answer. She would have preferred it if Duan Lingtan joined the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect. It would be easier for her to keep an eye on Duan Lingtan on Rong Bing's behalf that way. She would be able to help him avoid the powerhouses from the Compassionate Celestial Traveler Sect. She did not expect Duan Lingtan to join the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. It's fine. I'll think about how to change his mind later. In the worst case scenario, I'll ask Master to request him to join us after the Wasteland Grand Contest. Zhu Xiuku thought to herself. In her opinion, it should be easy for her master to request for Duan Lingtan to join the Thousand Spiders Celestial Sect instead of the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. She was confident because she was unaware of many things regarding Duan Lingtan. If she knew that Duan Lingtan was not only a great overarching golden celestial who was younger than 100 years old, but he was also a prominent celestial alchemist, she would not be so confident. Everyone in Xerong Palace began to discuss among themselves again. They thought Long Fian was really lucky to encounter a prodigy like Duan Lingtan. With this, many people's opinions began to change, and they thought Long Fian had a good chance of becoming the next emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom with Duan Lingtan's help. Who knew the 13th prince would find such a young powerhouse to help him become the winning prince? The 13th prince is really lucky. Alas, it's almost impossible for him to become the next emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Don't you forget the purple-clad young man said that he intends to join the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. If he joins the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect and proves his worth, becoming a high-ranking official in the sect, it's not impossible for him to help the 13th prince to ascend the throne. That's right. The 13th prince is really lucky. It might not even take that long. If the purple-clad young man's talent is appreciated by the high-ranking officials of the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect, and they accept him as a disciple, he could ask them to support the 13th prince to ascend the throne of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. Their chattering was not loud. However, as a heaven-rank overarching heavenly supreme celestial, Long Dongping, naturally, heard the discussions in his surroundings. However, he did not mind it. Although he did not favor the 13th prince and suspected that he was not the 13th prince's biological father, he did not mind if the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect intervened and made the 13th prince the next emperor of the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom. After all, there was a chance that the 13th prince was his son. He merely did not want to be the person to make him the next emperor. If the 13th prince managed to ascend the throne with his own capabilities, he would even be proud. Long Dongping looked at Long Fian and said, "Fian, since you won the selection, I'll reward you with the Duke-grade celestial weapon as promised." Long Dongping's reverberated clearly in everyone's ears, causing everyone to fall silent for a moment. Then, they began to discuss among themselves again. Duke-grade celestial weapon. That's right. The winning prince would be rewarded with a Duke-grade celestial weapon. There is only a handful of Duke-grade celestial weapons in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom's imperial family. I wonder which one will be given to the 13th prince. There are only 2 Duke-grade celestial weapons in the Soaring Dragon Celestial Kingdom that don't have an owner. It must be one of the 2. Both of them are offensive Duke-grade celestial weapons. No matter which one he's rewarded with, it's still great news. Everyone looked at Long Fian enviously. The 4th and 7th prince, in particular, were so jealous that they could kill. The 7th prince was so angry that his body even trembled. It felt as though the 13th prince had stabbed his heart. Everyone assumed Long Fian would happily receive the reward when he looked at Long Dongping and solemnly said, Father. I would like to exchange the Duke-grade celestial weapon for a prominent celestial pill cauldron. Silence descended on the main hall immediately. Even Long Dongping was stunned. A prominent celestial pill cauldron? He knew Long Fian had been looking for a prominent celestial pill cauldron, but he did not know Long Fian wanted it to this extent. Any sane person could see it was a huge loss to trade a Duke-grade celestial weapon for a prominent celestial pill cauldron. Long Fian's words, naturally, caused a commotion in the main hall. Did I mishear the 13th prince? Did he say he doesn't want the Duke-grade celestial weapon? Yes. It seems like he wants to exchange the Duke-grade celestial weapon for a prominent celestial pill cauldron. Is this a joke? Has he gone mad? Although a prominent celestial pill cauldron is rare, it's nothing compared to a Duke-grade celestial weapon. Isn't this a losing proposition? Perhaps he thinks His Majesty would not really reward him with a Duke-grade celestial weapon and decided to ask for a prominent celestial pill cauldron to gain His Majesty's favor. Is it necessary? Who knows? Is he insane? Long Xiangyan and Long Qingyan were stunned. They did not expect Long Fian to trade a Duke-grade celestial weapon for a prominent celestial cauldron. In their opinion, only an idiot would do that. Are you sure you want to give up the Duke-grade celestial weapon in exchange for a prominent pill cauldron? Long Dongping asked solemnly. Fian, you have to think this through. There's no going back after you make this decision. Father, I'm sure about it, Long Fian said resolutely. I want the prominent pill cauldron, not the Duke-grade celestial weapon. At this moment, Duan Ling Tan, who was standing on the stone platform, flew to Long Fian's side and interjected, 13th Prince, this isn't necessary. There's no shortage of prominent pill cauldrons once I join the Martial Dragon Celestial Sect. However, who knows if you'll be able to obtain another Duke-grade celestial weapon once you give up this chance. He, naturally, knew Long Fian was trying to obtain a prominent pill cauldron for him. He was moved by Long Fian's action, but he did not wish for Long Fian to give up on a